If someone wanted to make sure you never became someone relevant, they wouldn't tell you to stop. They would tell you to act a lot, every day. They would give you tasks, problems, distractions, all disguised as important. And at the end of the day, you would look back and think, I did a lot, but you didn't do anything that changed your level. And here is the truth most people avoid. Most people are not failing. They are just working on the wrong things. This video is not about productivity. It's about control, because whoever decides what comes first decides who they become. The real meaning of habit 3. When Stephen Covey talks about put first things first, he's not teaching organization. He's teaching a mental structure of power, because priority is not time management. It is decision management. And every decision creates an invisible consequence. Where you invest your energy defines what grows. If you invest in the superficial, you grow superficially. If you invest in the essential, you grow structurally. And here is the real divide. Average people respond to the environment. Strategic people impose direction. The most dangerous illusion, activity without impact. Most people live busy. But busy is not progress. And this needs to be understood clearly. Imagine 2 scenarios. In the first, someone spends the day replying to messages, solving small problems, dealing with interruptions, constantly switching tasks. In the second, someone spends the day focused on one critical task, ignoring distractions, executing deeply. Now think about the result after 30 days. The difference is not small. It is structural. Because in the first case, there is movement. In the second, there is construction. The brain and addiction to urgency. The human brain seeks fast reward. Always. Every time you solve something small, a message, a quick task, an immediate response, you get a micro reward, dopamine. And that creates a loop. You seek easy tasks, complete them, feel progress, repeat. But this is a trap, because what actually changes your life takes time, requires focus, gives no immediate reward result. You avoid it without realizing. If you want to go deeper into this, I recommend deep work. I'll leave the link in the description and pinned comment, because it explains how deep focus is a rare competitive advantage. Urgent vs important, the difference that defines everything. This is the core. Urgent demands response, creates pressure, comes from outside. Important creates results, requires intention, comes from inside. Most people live in the urgent, which means they live under external control. Now think strategically. If someone else can define what is urgent for you, they control your behavior. Real scenario. You are focused. Someone sends a message. I need this now. If you respond immediately, you just gave up control. And this repeats dozens of times per day. Small decisions, massive consequences. Priority. As a power weapon. Priority is not neutral. It is strategic, because choosing what comes first is choosing what grows. Think about a chess game. You don't move every piece. You choose critical moves. You ignore the rest. Life works the same way. But most people play badly. They try to do everything, and that leads to one outcome: mediocrity. The I'll do it later trap. This is the most silent mistake. I'll do it later. But later never comes, because urgency never ends, and importance never shouts. So the important gets pushed forward until it disappears. Time control equals life control. If you don't control your time, you don't control your life. Simple. Every interruption accepted without criteria is lost control. Every immediate response is a surrendered priority. Now, think like a strategist. Whoever controls the schedule controls the outcome, the quadrant that defines the future. There is a zone where everything happens, important, but not urgent. This includes training, learning, building, strategy. But it is ignored because it doesn't pressure you and the brain avoids it. But this is where power is built, because very few operate here. Discipline. The truth, most people avoid discipline, is not motivation. Discipline is repeated decision. You act because you decided, even when you don't feel like it. You're tired. There's no reward. If you want to go deeper, I recommend Atomic Habits. I'll leave the link in the description and pinned comment. The dark side of priorities. Now we enter the real game. If you don't define your priorities, you will execute someone else's. Always. And this can be used because most people react, seek validation, avoid discomfort. Whoever creates urgency controls attention. Whoever controls attention controls behavior. Real protocol. Now, let's make it practical. First, define what truly matters. Then, put it at the start of your day. Then, remove everything else. Then, execute without interruption. Only after that, respond to the world. Common errors and why they happen. Error 1. Waiting for motivation. Error 2. Multitasking. Error 3. Not protecting time. Error 4. Responding immediately. Error 5. No clear priority. Cold execution. At the highest level. You don't negotiate with distractions. You don't react automatically. You decide and execute. No emotion, no hesitation. Psychological depth. Why this makes you different. Most people are predictable. They react to stimuli, and that makes them controllable. Those who master priorities break that pattern, and those who break patterns gain advantage. The final truth. In the end, it all comes down to this. Average person does what appears strategic person, does what matters. One stays busy, the other builds power. If you made it this far, you now have something rare. Awareness. But awareness without action changes nothing. Subscribe. Not because it's content, but because this is leverage. And those who accumulate leverage dominate. Comment. Priority. Because in the end, whoever decides what comes first decides who wins.